I was so tired when I left yesterday. I felt bad. You know who I felt bad for yesterday? James. And I rarely feel bad for James. But James got to the barn yesterday at 8 o'clock. We didn't get done till 1:30. And then he had to race all night. I know I was tired all night long. And I'll tell you what, from driving for so long, on the cold days, it just seems like the bitter cold just sucks the soul right out of you. And after 5 hours, it's enough, right? We had a great day. We knew, I think there was some trepidation about training on Saturday because it was just going to be so cold at the start of the day. There has to be a line where it says it's too cold. You hear that?
Yeah.
I got to take it to the dealership. You hear that? When I decelerate, and it's not bad.
Are you pushing the brake on it?
No, not touching anything. I'm just taking my foot off the gas. So I'm going to get it looked at. Dave doesn't know what it was. He emailed me. Dave Bolus. It's not the tires, so he can't help out. But I think it might be something. If you're a mechanic out there and you heard that, drop me a line. So James, we got to the barn. It's just bitterly, bitterly cold. And to the point where we went out for the first set of 3-year-olds, Amy and I and Dominic, and we had hand warmers in. I abandoned the heated boots. I bought heated boots last year. They're just too clunky and too big. And I didn't want to use them this year. So I just bought heated socks, which are pretty good. Overall, I think it was a good trade. But my feet were cold, my hands were cold, my face was cold. It was a cold day. It was like minus, I'm going to say 20, 22-ish, because there was no wind, but it was just cold. And the air was just freezing cold, obviously.
Is this my top 10 overall or just yesterday?
You can make it whatever you want. I've just instructed my wife. Amy's going to have a top 10 this week. Nope, not Anthony. Amy's going to have a top 10. We sat down yesterday. This is my favorite time of year. You start seeing the horses. You start seeing those flickers, right? Those glimpses of real talent and speed. And then you can look at other horses and say, oh, that horse will come. A horse like Tactical Tackler made a break yesterday. Where are you coming on the name change for that anyway? Did you talk to Kelly and Linda and everybody?
I'm afraid to talk to Kelly, but Linda said she can do it, no problem.
Yeah, it's going to get done. We're going to change the name to Brace for Landing. So that particular horse, you can tell his gait and everything, his talent. You see, Wednesday, we didn't have a hood on him. And he was a little warm, to be honest. Not bad, just a little racy, a little warm, and he did his work so good. And then James said, maybe we'll put a hood on this horse. Now, James, again, he
didn't actually. I did. I kind of did it.
Okay.
I took the information.
James said he didn't say yes, and that's why I said, I'm pulling up yesterday. He goes, why do we have a hood on this horse? I said, well, James, didn't you say put a hood on him? And he said, no, I just said he was a little warm. Okay. Well, if he's a little warm, all indications would be that you put a little hood on. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The horse wore a hood yesterday. He was a little flat, but on Wednesday he was awesome. You can see a horse like that growing. When you look at him, he looks a little immature. Then you take a look at his breeding, his gait, everything about him, and there's nothing that would lead you to believe he's not going to be a nice horse. But right now, today, he's not one of the top 10. But that was the beauty. That was why it was so important for 3 Point Blue Chip last year, just to validate when we talk to people about these horses. You guys see everything, right? And that's the one thing other owners don't see. They might hear it, they might talk to their trainers sometime, but they don't see everything. And then have commentary from the trainers while that evidence is being presented to them in video form. You guys get to see everything. So it was important to see 3 Point Blue Chip, how it appeared that he struggled last year training. It didn't appear that he was at that level until he was. And it was important for that to happen, because it's one thing for me to tell you, you just never know. It's quite another thing to see it happen in front of you in real time. So, Amy, I would say your list should be your top 10 picks for right now.
Just yesterday?
I'm not asking you to guess. I'm asking, I would say yesterday and up to today.
You can't pick 10 overall.
Well, it's tough. You're going to have to. You have to. That's the way it is. I had to break it down to 10. I think I did it 15 the first week, and then I did troll it down to drag it down to 10.
Overall?
I think so. There has to be 10 horses that just look good right now. That if somebody put a gun to your head right now and said, I need your top 10 horses, those are the 10 that go on your sheet. So, so when we looked at yesterday, just so impressed with so many horses. You know, and as I said to you, it was an icy track. It was a cold day. It was snowy. It wasn't perfect conditions. So you got to see some horses persevere. You got to see me get a little angry at Una Madonna, who ended up wearing the hobbles later on in the day, and she was awesome. I think she knew she was in trouble because she came out the second time and was like, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. May I have another, sir? And she did her work 1, 2, 3, 4. It was perfect. We're pulling up. Mario goes, this thing's a creature. I said, Mario, this is a $100,000 filly that I expect is good. Well, didn't she go earlier? I said, yeah. She didn't want to do her work earlier, so we helped her do it later. Then you look at a horse like Lady All-Star, who's been stubborn, who's been ignorant. She wasn't yesterday. She just slipped a little bit, rolled off stride. She actually mentally was very good yesterday. Now, if she needs to go on, she needs to have the hobbles go on her for a little while, that's fine. I can do that too. But I was very happy with her intelligence yesterday. See, it's when you have horses that are stubborn, it's very hard. I'll give you an example in a minute. It's very hard to teach them anything. When you can't teach them anything, it's hard to watch them come forward. They won't, right? You look at a horse like Sir Strong, right? There's a horse that you can tell he had a nice gait. He has a muscle hill. We all have high hopes for him. He just didn't seem like he wanted to do it, right? And he is going to be castrated. He wasn't even castrated yet. It was the fact that steering wheel's on fire. It was the fact that he just was making breaks and interfering and didn't want to do his work. Put the hobbles on him, changed his shoes, and quite frankly, the shoeing change that I made, I didn't like. I went with him 10 days ago, and I'm like, I don't really, he doesn't feel that good in them. I went with him on Wednesday, and I turned to go the mile, and I said to James, this horse is going to run all over the track. And it was like a switch went off. He trained perfect. And then again, yesterday wasn't his fault. These are skittish horses. Danny's horses, no, you got to get rid of two. Danny's horse broke his trotting hobbles, and wasn't the rope or the pulley, by the way. It was the nylon strap that went back. The snap actually snapped. So, and he doesn't wear them super tight. So I think if you look closely, there might have been some wear and tear there. So Fashion Presidente, who's been awesome, has been training great, makes a break and then shies just a hair sideways and just startled Sir Strong. He rolled off stride. But what he did next was the most impressive part.
And I took landing pad off.
Well, you can take landing pad off if you want. It's top 10 horses right now. It's up to you. What he did next was very impressive. Caught up to the field, 3 wide around the last turn. And if you guys look, and there's many of you out there that watch every one of our sets all the time when we drone, you don't see many horses come from 6th to get the victory in training sets. And that's because they're all equal, right? They can't, if they're going in 30 or 32, they can all go in 30 or 32. So for you to come from 6th and win would mean that you would have to be able to trot in 25 speed. That's a lot. It's a lot to ask. And I wheeled him out. He didn't win, but he was 3rd, but he was right there. If there was a photo, he was right there in a photo for the win. In a mile into, I think we went 234, 233, which was a big mile for that colt. And the way he did it was impressive. And that circles back to a lot of horses. There's a lot of parallel lines between a horse like Sir Strong, where he is today, and a horse like Oh My Gosh, where he could be in 3 weeks. Here's a horse that has lost all confidence. Now you just come to a turn and it's automatic. He just rolls off. Right? He's got no confidence. So you have to work on his shoeing, get him where he's a little more comfortable. I'll put the hobbles on him, and then we'll make him trot through those turns. And as he does that work and he understands that he can do it better, you'll see that confidence rise and rise and rise, and then all of a sudden, there's the horse we bought. Right? But it takes time. I get messages all the time. I get emails yesterday about Crantini. Can we change some gear on Crantini? No. There has to be a mental growth also. You can't force these 1,000-pound horses to do their work all the time. Right? You can't force it on them. They need to understand it as you go along. And Crantini's mentally Crantini was crazy when we got him. Much better now, much better now, much better now. And there'll be a progression with him, both in his equipment, both in the way he trains, and both in the way and in the way he looks also. But it takes time. I know everybody's out there and they think there's just some equipment you put on a horse and boom, oh, they're perfect now. It doesn't exist, right? This is all what you guys get to see week to week is the work that we put into them, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And it takes time. It takes time. So I know there's a lot of people out there that might be my partners on Oh My Gosh or Crantini or any of those horses, and they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? You're not going to do anything. You're going to sit back and you're going to watch a show. It's just going to take time. And I can assure you, Crantini and Oh My Gosh will get there the same as everybody else. And if you want to know how long it takes, as I said, using an example like Sir Strong, here's a horse that was sick, very sick for about 3 weeks. Got a little bit better. We went easy with him. So before this week, he hadn't trained in 4 or 5 weeks. And then to see him go out and train as good as he did on Saturday, that's how long it takes. Sometimes just like that. So it just takes time. You just got to take your. You just have to easy car. You see what it does? I like being in a safe car, but my car takes it to the next level. When you're coasting forward and traffic hasn't started yet, as I just was, it just locks the brakes up. I think it's a little much, a little overkill, I think. Like it's at a 10. I need it to be at like a 6. Just gradually slow down. I'm doing 2 kilometers an hour coming up on a parked car. We don't need to lock the brakes up. Just a gradual slow. Anyway, as I said, the Crantinis, the Oh My Goshes, and a number of other horses that people are probably, I get it. You get to watch so many horses train great, and you're looking at your horse, you're like, what's wrong with my horse? He sucks. But they don't. It just takes time. You can't group them together. This has to be done on a case by case, horse by horse basis. So, that is that. As I said, very happy with the horses yesterday. I think it's pretty clear we have maybe a group of, as Amy said, she had a real tough time
I can make a list of 20.
I know. So we have a lot of horses that are doing the work very, very well, but there has to be 10 to have a top 10 list. Amy's going to have her top 10 list. I apologize to Johnny Shu. He sent me one last week, and I forgot to make the video about it. I'll make your video this week, Johnny. But it has to be up to date, so I'm going to have to talk to Johnny about this week. So we might have a Johnny and Amy top 10 list this week, but not an Anthony. This week at the track, as I said, we could talk all day about the babies, and we will very soon. But what took place at the track, obviously LD's Patrick was fantastic. Again, you guys knew, like I could see the writing on the wall. We'd already drawn the health papers on LD's Patrick, and then now, lo and behold, on Monday, they put him in with a horse. They put him in with aged horses, which he's 4, I get it. But he has 53,000 made, and there's a horse in there with 673,000 made or something. There's aged, battle-hardened animals in with LD's Patrick. Now, I still think he'll be very good, but he's not going to overpower that field the way he has in the past, and it's unfair to him to be there. He will race at Yonkers for the next 10 starts and never race against a horse he's going to have to race against on Monday. That's the reality of the situation. So he'll be heading to Yonkers probably Tuesday morning if I have it my way. And so for those of you out there saying, Anthony, give me a heads up when he's going. Here's your heads up. LD's Patrick is leaving for Yonkers Raceway on Tuesday morning. I told Mohawk, I mean, if you guys can't, I wrote the blog the other day, had 0 feedback from any stakeholder in the industry, except for some people that had mentioned and made comments or whatnot, but no feedback from the racetracks, any commissions. Nobody seems to be too concerned about the horse shortage and how they're going to fix it. So here's the thing. Anthony's going to worry about the stable.ca because that's Anthony's job. You worry about what you got to do, but just so you know, Mohawk, LD's Patrick is gone. And you might say, oh, it's just one horse. Every horse counts. And the fact that we're in this position is for that very reason, is that very attitude. So if you don't want to catalog the horses and you don't want to make it so that I and you, our clients, can see that there were 6 horses entered, didn't fill this week, but there's another 10 horses that fit that class in Ontario, so it should be filling soon. I have absolutely no confidence that LD's Patrick is going to race him with LD's Patrick-like company for the foreseeable future, so he is gone to Yonkers. And Locatelli's class didn't fill. They called. I'm glad, and I appreciate that the race office called. I thank you. If anybody in the race office watches this, thank you for calling. LD's Patrick is not an open trotter right now. He's a 4-year-old. What did I say? Who? Oh, yeah, sorry. Locatelli is not an open trotter right now. He's the 28 or 26, whatever class he fits. He's not an open trotter. He's not going to race in the preferred against horses that had $1 million made and are 7 years old. Like Perfetto made $250,000 last year, and he's what, 7? I'm not racing Locatelli against him. Sorry. And if you think I should, fine. You don't train him or own him. And at the end of the day, I told everybody exactly what's going to happen. I had some clients that said, Anthony, why don't we just send him to the Meadows? Guys, keep in mind one very important thing. He just turned 4. He had 21 starts as a 3-year-old. So you think about this. 21 documented starts as a 3-year-old. Not factoring in schoolers, qualifiers, fast training trips in the race bike. Locatelli has likely been in the race bike upwards of 40 times last year for fast miles. He's going to get tired. Would you not rather him win in 55 and beat horses he should race against and then be turned out? Or we can try and race him against horses that he may or possibly be able to do, potentially get his head kicked in, and then turn him. He's not going to the Meadows. He's not going to Northfield. He's not going to the Meadowlands. He's not going to Dover. If the class doesn't fill over the next week or so, he's going to the field, is where Locatelli's going to go. Because we bought him to be a very good 4-year-old, and a major component of him becoming that horse is allowing him to be turned out, freshened up, and grow up. So if Locatelli's class doesn't fill over the next week or two in Ontario, he's just going to go to the field, relax for a little while. So that's the plan with Locatelli. I will be very upfront with everybody also. If Kings County is as good as James thinks he is, first time I saw him in the harness live that I actually recognized him and cataloged him as our horse was yesterday at Tremico training a slow mile with Dominic. Looks great. James says he's a killer. Okay, let me see it. And if that is the case, I would suspect he'll get to the Open just as White Tiger may need a rest also, right? And I had I always get emails from Joe asking, can we not put him in some major stake races next year? Listen, guys, I love White Tiger. He is finally becoming the horse we always knew he was. It took a long time. It was a long way getting here, but he's getting there. And he's not a Grand Circuit trotter, right? He just isn't. And to think that there's some, middle of the road race we can race him in, there is Grand Circuit, and then there is nothing. There's just aged horses. Now, make no mistake, there's nothing wrong with racing for 30 or 40,000 every week, even 20,000 every week, and being productive. So if we have a productive open trotter, that's awesome. But part of him being a productive open trotter is not expecting more of him than he can give. And expecting him to be a Grand Circuit horse is just not fair to him. So, and a fair argument, somebody said, well, you paid Locatelli into stuff. Because I don't know what Locatelli's going to look like with 2 months in the field. A little more muscle put on him as we train him down. A fresher set of legs on him. I don't know what Locatelli's like. Eglare AM. Someone said, why is she paid into stuff? I don't know. She was a 3-year-old trotting filly that won twice in 53 at Mohawk. It's only reasonable to believe she's going to be a stronger, better 4-year-old. This isn't a case where, Anthony, the horse was really good at 2 for you and then just didn't seem to get better at 3. She was awesome towards the end of the season. Tie up, yes, she's got an issue where she could tie up real easy. But at the same time, if we keep her focused, if we keep her going forward, if we're able to manage her and her physical ailments, who's to say she won't trot 51? 52, which puts her in, there's 4-year-old staking in New Jersey, I believe. She's Pennsylvania bred. 4-year-old staking in Kentucky, where she's also staked. So there's races for Eglare AM. Listen, I'm going to go over the staking booklet again tonight. And I want to see, did I make mistakes? I mean, I rolled through the staking pretty quick when the list came out. Just give me a couple more minutes. I rolled through the staking list pretty quick when it came out, and I still GJ's ATM. I paid him into the Wellwood. He made a break yesterday, finishing up, and he's an Illinois bred. It's really tough to quantify that, and Johnny was the one that brought that up, and he's right. Maybe I was dreaming. Maybe he should just stay in Illinois and race in the fairs in between that stake race and the next one where the Wellwood sits. Is it realistic to think that an Illinois bred would be competitive in I don't think that matters. It does and it doesn't. I was just about to say that. I mean, Cadaver's by what? Primrose Lane? Yeah. So you never really know, but freaks only come along once in a while. GJ's ATM seems like he's a really, really talented colt. So I'm still mulling this over. I guess we could still make the first payment, get a look at him race training for another month, and then decide, are we going to make the second payment for the Wellwood? We'll see. But we do want to go over that staking booklet again. So, what happened this week on the track? Eldis Patrick was a winner. Locatelli did not get a chance to race, as we just talked about. White Tiger finished fourth, right? Race good, really not his trip. I shouldn't say it's not his trip. He kind of got jammed up in behind somebody and had to kind of fish his way out. He still trotted, I think, one of the fastest last quarters I've seen him trot in a while, 27 and a piece. He needs to be in that either two-hole trip and jumping on a horse a little vulnerable when you're talking about open company, or feathered up into it, second over, behind company. Jammed up and ask him to trot 26 seconds. It's just, he's not there. And I guess he's improved so much, I think it's only fair to say he's not there yet. Because I think the world's the oyster of a 6 or 7 year old White Tiger. Is he 7 now? 6 now. A 6-year-old White Tiger. He can do anything, obviously, he puts his mind to now. And now that his mind is opened a little bit to racing, who's to say? So I guess that does feed Joe's argument a little bit about some of the other stake races. Because he's come so far in such a very short time period, who's to say he can't get a little further? I guess that's a fair argument. But again, White Tiger's been going for well over a year. At some point, he's going to need a little rest also. It's not yet, but as you can see with some of the other horses, it creeps up really quick, right? Globetrotting, James swore that she was fresh as a daisy and sharp, but had those 2 or 3 bad starts. And then the other day, he said, she just seems flat. Yeah, well, she's probably a little tired. Turn her out. Yes was out. He's coming back this week. Stonebridge Simba come back this week. We have all our horses that didn't get to qualify last week will be qualifying this week. You got a report from Jason. Jason made a point to call me last night and tell me that Bomb Hugger was by far the star of the day. She trained unbelievably. Now, I haven't seen her since we just started going. Those are very remedial, slow miles with her. Jason went with her yesterday. Didn't go a super fast mile, but he said, Anthony, she was so good, it was crazy. And I said, well, Jason, she's stakes champion filly and made 106,000 last year. I don't think it's really going to shock me that Bomb Hugger trained very, very good. He said that Granite Hill was good. Matt's MVP was good. Kathy with an Eye was good. These horses are all qualifying on Wednesday. Who else? Who else was good? A number of the other horses trained good. He mentioned Purple Aura, Sweet on Pete. He said they trained well also. So all of our horses are getting there, right? As we continue to compile horses like Royson's Punch, who schooled on Friday and is going to be racing next week, hopefully in the class that didn't fill for Eldis Patrick. As we start to move these horses closer to the races, these 3-year-olds, these sophomores, and behind them, obviously, the 2-year-olds headed for June, July, August, and further on, we have the strongest front line of racers we've ever had, right? And I'm going to miss somebody. Locatelli, yes. The acquisition of Eldis Patrick was key also for this winter. Royson's Punch, Globetrotting. Did I mention yes yet? Yes. Stonebridge Simba, White Tiger. There's 8. Who else do we got? We forget about High Gear No Fear because he really didn't do that good for us so far, but he's a nice horse. Globetrotting. I mean, we have tons and tons of just decent frontline horses, and you look at the other horses. We're all going to a party tonight for James. The O'Brien Awards party at James's house, and I forgot I have My Jazz in tonight. Now, normally I just say, I'm not going. It's My Jazz. She's got 3 starts left in her life. I'm going to scoot over and drive My Jazz tonight. She's at Flamborough. I think she raced at 10 o'clock. Here's another great horse. 3 in a row for her. She got 18,000 made this year, looking at putting together a pretty decent year. Wouldn't it be cool if she had 6 wins in a row and was retired to the breeding farm? So, My Jazz, as I said, also a horse that's been racing good. Jekyll and Hyde has been racing good for us. Who else has been racing good? Jason's barn, Harry's barn, Dominic's barn. Oh, just so many horses doing well right now. It's definitely the best year we've ever had to start following the best year we've ever had at the track. So off to a great start in 2022, looking to keep it going. Obviously, my brother James is up for an O'Brien Award tonight. I would say, I don't think it's a jinx to say he's a lock, as he should be. I was a little surprised, just a tiny bit surprised that it wasn't unanimous, to be honest, because it should be. The year he had has been incredible. He continues that into 2022. He's having a great run, and I want to say, and I never say it to him. You guys think I'm hard on him. It's just brotherly love. I mean, to have the leading driver in Canada come to your barn every day and jog your horses, and talk to him about how the horses are and train the horses with him. Before James McDonald was James McDonald, that you know now, he was a guy that come up here and trained horses very hard with me for the longest time, and we butted heads and still do sometimes. But to have him here is a real feather in our cap, and to have the people that we have, we're never going to be successful if we don't have great people around us. It starts with you, but without them also, there's no stable.ca. So James, Johnny, Jason, Harry, Mario, now Dominic, everybody that's associated with the stable, all the caretakers, even the blacksmiths, all the people that we don't really put into that category of important are very important. So the year we had last year, the year we're having so far, and hopefully the year ahead of us is directly connected to both you, the people that help us put the horses in the barn, and them, the people that care for them, and obviously the people that train them and make sure they're going in the right direction. So yesterday was a great display of that. I saw some very, very impressive horses on the track. I know you did too. Just happy that things seem to be going in the right direction moving forward. So thank you all again. We'll talk to you soon. We're going to be back in a minute. We got Amy's top 10 list, first one of 2022, coming right now. I can't use that word. It's 2022. Coming right at you in a second.